Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Talkin Kop. It's Friday night. We don't usually do anything on a Friday night, but Liverpool are playing at 12:30 a.m. So we thought we'd come on here and do a little preview. Kev, how are you?
Very good.
Good.
Very good.
Are you excited,
Nice few
Kev?
days off. Nice few days away. So,
Oh yeah,
be honest, I'm
How'd-
trying to catch up with everything now because I just switched off from everything yesterday.
yeah. And
And
did you catch up?
I did. I kind of caught the bits and bobs of the press conference yesterday, but I
Okay.
rewatched it and re-listened to it tonight. And yeah, it was interesting. Really interesting listening to Curtis Jones.
Are you are you excited? Liverpool are about to play a game again.
After listening to that press conference with Curtis Jones, yeah, I am.
Yeah,
Because I want to see. I'm not expecting, you know, a whole brand new riveting style of football or anything.
yeah.
But I think it'll be different to what we're used to watching.
Just on,
It'll be interesting to see how.
just
That's what I'm
on,
looking forward to seeing.
just on we'll get into the press conference a bit of detail because I thought they were really interesting,
Yeah,
and they are going to be
yeah,
because it's players being asked questions about a new manager and training and the intensity and stuff like that. But I've seen stuff today like headlines from certain websites. The name has gone out of my head, so I'm not going to attempt to name one because I'll probably name the wrong one. But headlines like "I'm glad he's gone." Curtis Jones happy that Klopp is gone. He's delighted with what Arne Slot is going to do, and you're like, that's clearly not what he said. You know,
not
um, like making headlines for the sake of making headlines. You know the sort of
yeah,
way. But I think we have to. We're going to do a watch along from about
yeah.
12:15 a.m. We're all well. When I say we're all set up for that, I haven't done a single thing. But I'm going to do it out the back garden. I'm going to have a few cans and I can have me smoke. So anyone that's watching and hasn't seen us do a watch along, you probably haven't because we usually do them for members. But how it works is, I'm in one place, Kev's in another place. We sync up the game. We tell you when it's kicking off on our screen, and yeah, I'm outside, so it means I can have a can, I can have a smoke. So if you're in any way offended by that sort of stuff, don't watch.
Pretty
And the
much.
watch alongs won't last long. They what I mean is they last the whole game. But we usually do this for maybe one or two pre-season games and go, nah, not for us. And we just go off for another year and leave them alone.
But this is different. This preseason is different.
It is different, but do we have to temper our expectations? Because when you look at the squad that's gone over there, all that's being added to it is Jota, who I don't think will figure tonight.
No, no.
I was thinking there today, and I was thinking, well, we'll go in through the lineup in a minute, and I was like, right, there's no Allison, there's no Trent, there's no Kanate, there's no Virgil, there's no Joe Gomez, there's no McAllister, there's no Gravenberch, there's no Diaz, there's no Jota, there's no Nunez, there's no
Who
Gakpo.
knows?
And
Yeah,
McAllister, did I mention McAllister?
yeah. It's I
Um,
think there's 11 missing.
yeah,
There might be more, but I think there's definitely 11.
yeah. Um, and I think what we're looking for tonight is just to watch them back playing, see what style they come out with, and see. I'm just really looking forward to youngsters getting a chance, and it's against Betis. I think they'll be at about the same stage as us. I think they start the league about a week later than us, so we'd be quite. The one thing I will say for these pre-season friendlies is we're not going into it where teams are 3 or 4 weeks ahead of us. We're going to play United, we're going to play Arsenal. They're at the same stage as us. Betis are probably the same stage as us. So it's not a case of, oh, look, they're miles into their pre-season. But let's go, before we get into teams and players and stuff like that, let's go back to the press conferences because the Curtis Jones one was really interesting. He said, we're not going to be as gung-ho, I think was the word, not the words he used, but that was the sort of thing he was saying. The manager is looking for us to keep hold of the ball better and kill teams. Ashley Ellis put in a quote from Curtis Jones on Arne Slot. He said, he's amazing, actually. Jones said of Slot with a wide smile. It's probably the happy I've been in terms of a style of play that suits me and the lads that we have in our team. So
Yeah,
I think that makes loads of sense from Curtis Jones because the biggest thing that's been thrown at Curtis Jones is over the last couple of years, not so much in the last year, but over the last, since he's come into the team, is he slows it down too much.
yeah.
Slows it down too much. He's you don't see him bursting through on mad breakaways and stuff like that. I think he's matured since that England under 21s when he sat in the middle of midfield. But Curtis Jones, press resistant, can hold the ball really well, has a good range of passing. And it's okay for Curtis Jones to say, you know what, I love playing for Liverpool, but the style he's looking to bring in, it really, really suits me. You know,
Yeah,
and that's okay, isn't it?
I think it's more than fair. And when you go back to listening to, you go all the way back when we first found out the slot was coming in. The first thing that you'd start to hear from Feyenoord fans, he's a Klopp Pep hybrid, but leans more towards Pep. Which means off the ball, you're aggressive, you win the ball back. But when you have the ball, you love the ball, you keep the ball, and you suffocate sides to hurt them. And it's one way of looking at it that when you have a midfield trio of three footballers, as well as forwards who come towards the ball and want the ball and link play up and look for balls in around the back and cutbacks, it's a different style of playing. But the risk is when you lose the ball in the final third, you're aggressive to win it back again, which is pretty much what Jones has said. When you have the ball, you keep the ball, you recycle it, and you make keep possession, and you hurt people with the ball. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's what I'm really looking forward to seeing. Less aggressive, less direct, less gung ho about going back to front and playing through the thirds.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't make a blind bit of difference as to who's missing and who's there, because that idea seems, for me, and from what I was taking in from both slots, every news conference that he's had, and listening to Curtis Jones as well, is that's what he's tried to implement from day one.
Mm.
And that's what I want to see. I don't really care about results so much. It's you want to see this style of play, how it develops, and then you can see it in your mind's eye. How is it going to work with a McAllister? How
Yeah.
is it going to work with
And these,
an
but
Endo?
yeah, but these players, like the likes of all those 11 or whatever we named that are away, they're all going to be constantly fed information. You know, so they'll be fed the information of tonight's game. They'll be fed information of training schedules, what they're looking for. You know, we've heard before, Slot has watched training sessions, he's watched games, and that's perfect, of course. Like, you know, you'd expect them to do that. But it goes the other way. Klopp is going to be feeding all these information, so they're not going to come in blind on day one and go, right, what do we do here? You know, they're going to come in with a load of information given to them before they get there. You know, just a few more comments. Ashley supplying us with from Curtis Jones said it's a clear plan. The training, he's fully involved. He coaches a lot, and he is big on the finest of details. The principles are the same, but I feel now that centre mids are going to be more in the heart of the team, which is a very, very, very good point, because we always looked upon Liverpool as, you know, that kind of functional midfield. Now it's changed a little bit with McAllister because I think he's brought a bit more finesse to the midfield. But when you watch Liverpool, even with McAllister or Endo in it under Klopp, and I'm all for it. You know, I'm not for or against one manager or not, but it was a case of, listen, we may play balls in the midfield, but we're looking to get these wide men on the ball early, down the side, get on it early, use our fullbacks, and our midfield. Although I think we added a bit more creativity to it with the likes of Gravenberch and certainly McAllister, they were the last thing you would think of in Liverpool's team. You always thought of the fullbacks, the centre-backs, the forwards. The midfield was always one to, you know, are we looking for enough from them? But when we lose the ball, they're there to win it. You know, the sort of way. And he wants the midfielders to be the real, you know, that's where we're going to focus our play and stuff like that, and that's absolutely fine. He continues on, Curtis, we're not in a rush to attack. We want to have the ball and break teams down, and that gives us a chance. If we give the ball away, we can go and press. So it's fairly standard stuff. He says, I feel in the past it was a rush to get the ball back, and it was a little bit too direct, up and down, up and down. Now he wants us to have the ball and just completely kill teams. So he's just talking about a different style of play here.
Yeah,
that's all he's talking about.
That's it. But
and the emphasis being on a different part of the pitch to, you know, to be the driving force of it, I suppose.
Yeah. But what I was thinking back to is last season. You think of the goals that we conceded last season, where we were trying to go forward too aggressively, and you're losing the ball in a bad area of the pitch, and your two centre backs were exposed because Trent was in the wrong spot. It's silly things like that he might be looking to try to iron out. It's just mind the ball in certain areas of the pitch, attack a slightly different way, and you don't leave yourself open at the back. Instead of pressing with 6 and 7, press with 5. It's just little variances of how you play the game. But if you're looking at a midfield that's going to be more technical, I think Klopp probably wanted to try to do that when he brought in Thiago, but he was never fully able to do it. He never had the personnel to be able to play through the middle as much as probably he wanted to.
But they were
he had
going
to
towards
compensate
that.
with what he had.
But they were going towards that because if you remember, like 17, 18 was madness, right? 18, 19 was just a brilliant season, right? But then, if you watch the progression through 18, 19, in my opinion, we started to control games more, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't up and down; it was control games, and in particular, 18, 19, we penned teams in, and we just went, "You're not getting out." And I always go on about reducing teams to percentage balls up where their centre halves can deal with it because it has to be a brilliant ball to get by them. And as it went on and got 19-20, again we controlled a lot of games. We went 1-0 up and you didn't think we were going to concede. And I think going into 2021 and bringing in Thiago and stuff like that, I think he was looking to do that more. Let's pen teams in, but let's control games. Let's give ourselves more options from different parts of the pitch, i.e. those 2A positions where we can go and really hurt teams and hold onto the ball at the same time. He was walking towards that. It didn't go right, and we ended up going back to a bit more of a madness at times. But, like, someone in the chat there says, it's great to see players getting on board. Like, it really is, Kev, because it's not like he's just saying it for the sake of saying it. He's gone into quite a bit of detail there. And, people will say, oh, geez, he's got, like, a couple of people there said
he's sat next to him, like.
He's over Klopp. Curtis Jones seems to be over Klopp fairly quickly. But is it not, we're not asking people to be over Klopp, but is it not a good sign that they're coming out and, 3-4 weeks into training, they're like, geez, the detail, the way he wants to play, it's a clear plan. We already know what it is. It's not, we're just waiting to see how things go. Like, it's very, very detailed as to how Klopp wants to play. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean, look, let's be honest. The jury is out on Arne Slot. We don't know how this is going to play out. We all hope it's going to work. We all hope that he hits the ground running. It'll be some achievement if he does, because it's really difficult to come into a top-level side in the Premier League and challenge for silverware in your first season, irrespective of who you are. And it doesn't matter what side you take over. It's a very difficult thing that he's been tasked to do. So to implement the way he wants to play with the current squad is probably, it's good that he's had time to work with players, but when the season starts, I don't think he's going to have as much time as he wants. So he's got to get the work done now. And it's going to be a process over the next 3 months, how this evolves. So they have to have a set way of playing early that they can get results and work at the same time, because the games are going to come really thick and fast when the season starts. But I'm so optimistic about it. I'm really, really optimistic about it. It's like calm about the transfer side of it, really relaxed about that, because the core squad is really good. But the buy-in from the players, they're professionals. They're not babies. Curtis Jones is 23 now. He's been in the squad since he was 17. So he's not as if he's wet behind the ears. Football evolves like this. It's very rare these days in any kind of league or international football that you have a manager who's at a club this as long as Klopp was. The turnover is normally pretty quick. So in essence, we've been spoiled. We've been really spoiled. We've been really lucky. But players are professional. They will roll with it. A new guy comes in, a new voice, a new approach, different training, freshens everything up. Everyone's on an even keel. Everyone's on they say level playing field. He probably has a preconceived idea of what he wants to do. But I don't think he's going to be closed-minded. I think if someone puts their hand up and sharpens their elbows and forces their way into the squad, he'll give them their head. And we saw someone made a comment. I don't know if it was in the press conference, but when Curtis Jones has the shirt on merit, it's very difficult to get it back off him again. When he got into the side at the start of last season, he looked a natural in the side. He looked like he belonged, and he looked like, up until I think he's sending off, he looked like a mainstay that was going to be in the midfield for a good while.
Yeah, I think
this could really benefit him in a big way.
I don't think it only benefits him. I agree with you, it benefits him. I don't think it's only him though. I think there's a lot of players there that you know, when you look at it, like Curtis Jones for me comes in at the back end of the season before last, about 11 games left. He's a really good run in the team. He gets a couple of goals, 3 or 4 goals, I think. There's one at Spurs. There might be one at Leicester. There's a couple anyway. And then he, like I said, there seems to be something different about him when he comes into the team last season. And again, like, it's funny because I always find when you watch Liverpool games or you listen to the fan base, it's like when someone's in a team, they seem to find fault with them. But when they're out of a team, you know, or they're injured, it's like, oh, I wish we had him. And that happens with you, just on Curtis Jones. That happens with him all the time. Like when he's not there, we're like, oh, we miss him because he holds onto the ball, and you know, and then when he's in there, you're like, oh, he's not doing enough, and it's like, jeez, what do we want here? But talking about clear plans and clear ideas and ways to play, you know, it is a bit of a level playing field because some will take to it and some mightn't. And there might be a few surprises where they don't take to it. You go, geez, I was expecting to be really good. Like I think Harvey Elliott is really he's one in my head. He's really in my head now about this season, and it's simply because holding on to the ball, moving it around, being probing. I think that's made for Harvey Elliott in this team. Do you get me? I think if you ask Harvey Elliott to run up and down the pitch, right, at a constant level, he can do it, but it's not his game. You know what I mean? No. If it's a bit like asking, you know, Bernardo Silva, and I'm not comparing him to Bernardo Silva before people fucking lose their mind, but if you ask Bernardo Silva to go into a foot race up and down pitches all day, right, I would back, say, the Liverpool midfielder or a Liverpool midfielder like Gino Wijnaldum to curtail him because the physicality he'll overcome Bernardo Silva. But when you look at Bernardo Silva in the Man City side, and I'm just taking them as a team that hold, recycle, try kill you sort of thing, and if you see Bernardo Silva, he pops up on the left, he pops up on the right, he's in the middle, he's deep, he's advanced, he's beyond Haaland at times. And what he's doing is he's constantly moving, trying to probe and stuff like that. And that's where I'm not comparing him to Harvey Elliott to him, but Harvey Elliott to me feels like that's the sort of player he wants to be. That's the sort of player he wants to be. I don't think he's a winger. I don't think he's a jinking winger. I think he's a player that wants to get in around tight areas and probe and move and has an eye for a pass. And Curtis Jones holds the ball, press resistant, probably should get more goals. Fair enough. You know what I mean? There's loads of things you can throw at players, but to see him, Curtis Jones, coming out that early and talking like that, I think is really, really... I'm not saying he's wiping the slate of Jurgen Klopp. I'm saying it's really encouraging to see that a manager's having that impact and a really clear impact on somebody that early. Do you get me?
It'll be interesting to see tonight how much of the play is built through the midfield. First and foremost, see what the lineup is, see what formation he sets up in, what he starts the game in. How does he want to build attacks? Does he want to go down the wings? Does he want to come through a 6? What do the 2-8s do if he plays with 2-8s? Where's the link-up play with the striker? Is he coming to the ball? Is he looking to run in behind? All of this stuff is what you're going to be looking for, and we haven't got a notion of how it's going to work or how it's going to go. I'm going to have to let this fill out. I'll be 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
All our streams are just interrupted by dogs and people get very upset. I'll read out some of your comments. Jeff seems to be having a lovely time in the chat there. He says, Salah on the decline. Jota, Salah on the decline. I think Salah's just aging, but he's still putting up really good numbers. Jota, Kanata injury prone. I agree with you. Nunes hit and miss. I agree with you. Robertson on the decline. I'm not too sure on that. And injury prone. He's had one bad injury where he done his shoulder. You know, like these things happen. Elliot Jones, would Elliot Jones make City or Arsenal? I think Arsenal might have been heavily linked with Curtis Jones last summer, and made tentative inquiries about his availability. I promise you this. I will say one thing to you, Jeff. If you gave Pep Guardiola Harvey Elliott at 20 years of age and the experience he has, I think he would take him. I'm not telling you for a second that he beat Man City's best player, but Pep Guardiola, I'd say, looks at him and thinks he's a really fucking good player. You know, and I'm not saying you can't downplay our players, but again, like when you look at how they play, like I thought Elliott was fantastic last season. Like, and maybe I'm looking at a different game. Jeff says he's injured again. He got an injury at the Euros, Robertson. But the only injury he literally had last season was he done his collarbone or shoulder. But I don't know if I'm watching a different game. Like I think Elliott when he was on as a sub for a while. I said this last week. When he was on as a sub, his impact was great because we were pressing teams and we probably bringing him on when you needed something or whatever, and he was brilliant at it. Couple of shaky games when he started, but in fairness to him, a few of them might have been out on the left or the right, and I'm not a fan of that. But then as the season drew towards an end, I think he got better and better as he went on, and could have been an outside chance to be in the England squad, to be fair. But having said that, you looked at what England picked, and you looked then what he ended up pulling on the pitch. Thank God.
You know, anywhere near it.
Yeah. Jeff says Jones would not make Arsenal. No way. Arsenal looked at Curtis Jones last year in front of Foden. Lol doesn't play in the same position as Phil Foden. Just doesn't. He's a centre midfielder. Phil Foden plays on the right wing for Man City. So it's not. It's not really the same. But I've no problem with your points that you're making. Keep going. It's no problem.
Yeah. I have one problem with the point he's making, saying that Alisson's on the decline. I mean, I just don't see that.
I didn't read the Alisson thing.
That was right up the top when Alisson and Virgil were on the decline, and
well, Alisson's the best goalkeeper in the world.
That's an issue. Yeah,
and
it's. I don't think that's even up for debate. But
yeah,
opinions are like arseholes. We all have them.
Yeah. Jerry says Elliott is very good. I agree. I don't get the Jones hype. He's a so-so player and often injured, but the abuse he gets is too personal and unfair. Well, I think a lot of the stuff comes because, like, all the stuff of, if he wasn't scouts or he'd be fucking playing for whoever. If you honestly think Liverpool are playing this fella in midfield because he's from Liverpool, like, please. Like, tell you what to do, right? Go and look back at all the academies, all the years of the academies, and the amount of people from Liverpool release on a yearly basis because they aren't good enough. Right? Or they're perceived not to be good enough. Liverpool aren't playing this fella because he's from Liverpool. It's just simply not true. Do you know what I mean? I don't know about the so-so thing, but I will say, with what Jones is coming out with here, I'm now looking for Jones to be a fella that, if he's not anchoring the midfield in a 2, if he's one of those 8s, I want to see him not giving the ball away. I want to see him probing. I want to see him, constantly recycling at a good pace, and making runs, and a little bit different to what he's done already. But like I said, that like all these players, they're new to what we're doing. You might like some, you might not. But I promise you, if Curtis Jones doesn't start against Ipswich and we're giving the ball away and stuff, I go online and watch the amount of people that'll say, Jesus, Curtis Jones wouldn't be giving that away. Curtis Jones would have held on to it for us. Curtis Jones is actually... Remember, Curtis Jones starts as a left winger, and I always go back to a pre-season friendly. I want to say in 2000, and I think it was about 18, and they're away at Tranmere, and he's cuts in from the left, and he has a fullback running outside him that he should just slip to, and he comes in, hits a poor shot, and I went, he won't make it at Liverpool because he's not picking the right thing, and he ends up playing a bit on the left. He goes into midfield, and he's gone a bit deeper. But Curtis Jones, you have to remember, at 23, right, is still, I think, adjusting his natural game to what Liverpool want him to do. Unless Arne Slot turns around and says to him, I've seen videos of you playing left side of midfield, you're playing left side of midfield now on. But he's still evolving, even at that age, into what you want him to be. Sort of way. And it's not too late to do that, because people think you're set in stone at 21 and you can't do anything else after that. That's nonsense.
I think if Curtis Jones was playing at any other side outside of a side challenging for silverware, he would have played a lot more than 100 games. He would have probably been allowed to develop as a natural midfielder in a side that were like a Brighton, and you'd be scrapping and looking at him saying, why aren't we in for this guy? And it just so happens that when you're trying to break through, Trent is a freak. Conor Bradley got into the side because of Trent's injury. It's very, very difficult for any youth player under 21, under 23 player to come into a side that's challenging for silverware and stake a claim to say, I'm an automatic starter in this side. It doesn't happen. It's very, very rare.
Yeah.
So I think the progress that he's made with the under 21s, the fact that he was knocking in and around the England squad on merit this before they went off to the Euros. He was in the training squad. He's still a work in progress. And now he's going to have to. He's tailoring his game again to a new manager, to a new style of play that might suit him down to the ground a lot more. We'll see. Time will tell. But as it stands, he's still physically. He was never going to be a winger. I think he's 6'1".
Yeah, he's a big enough lad, and in
he's a big enough lad.
I was looking at him. I was looking at him in the pre-season, and he's bulking a little bit as well. In fairness,
who's really bulked up, and because I was watching the Inside Anfield today, and Gerald Kwanzaa across his shoulders and across his back
on the weights.
He looks like he's like that.
Yeah.
He looks like he's been on the weights.
I
know they've only been away for a few weeks.
Yeah,
but I looked at him differently to how I remember him at the start of last season when he looked like.
But this is the stages they go through, Kev.
Kid. Yeah,
they come in, they play, and they look and go right. Little bit, and they're grown. They're still very, very young men. They haven't completely developed in their body yet. Jerry says, "I never said he's a good. He's only here because of Liverpool." No, you didn't, Jerry. In fairness, I've seen others say that. Not here. I've seen him generally said.
Oh, that's a common trait that's thrown.
Jerry says he's obviously an outstanding player in the Premier League. Okay, remember that bit. He's a good depth option here, though. If he's a regular, we're not winning much. Now, it's. Like, so straight away in your head, if Curtis Jones plays a load against Liverpool, which Arne Slot will put him in the team if he feels he's good enough to play, you feel we're not winning and you're not winning much. Like, that's just, like, straight away, it's like, no, if he's not playing. So you don't like the player. You don't try and mask the fact that he's an outstanding Premier League player. So if he's an outstanding player, he's obviously an outstanding player, plays in the Premier League. Why isn't he good enough? Like, let me put something to you. Curtis Jones has given more to Liverpool than Thiago had in the 4 years Thiago was here. No shadow of a doubt. And we all reminisce about Thiago and remember that. And don't get me wrong, Thiago played some outstanding games for Liverpool. But Curtis Jones gave you more than Thiago did. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. And the name Thiago and this, that, and the other, Curtis Jones gave you more. Simple as that. Gave you more. Thiago wasn't there enough. Curtis Jones gave you more. I'm not telling you Curtis Jones will start with Liverpool, but I like the fact that he's a Liverpool player. I like the attributes he has. I like of where he's going. I like what he's talked about yesterday. But again, it's up now to Curtis Jones to back that up. And if he's honestly coming out and saying, this is the most comfortable I've felt by the looks of this system, he's set a really fucking high bar for himself. Because he can turn around in 6 months' time and go, you know what? It's just not suiting me and I don't feel like I'm getting this. Well, hold on, Curtis. And this isn't me having a go at the player. I'm just saying, if you look at both sides of the coin and what he said, he's setting really high standards for himself. And he obviously feels he's confident enough that he can meet them. And Arne Slot's team selections will tell you if he feels that he can meet them.
Yeah.
Right? But
I'd rather have... I'll put it this way. I'd rather have to go looking for him.
But I'll put it this way. I'd rather have Curtis Jones, whether it's on the pitch or even as a sub. I'd rather have him than going, we sold Curtis Jones and we bought some fella from Spain for 25 million and isn't he great? And you turn and go, no, he's not. Because he's not doing much more than Curtis Jones or any more than Curtis Jones is doing. And this isn't me doing a big defence of Curtis Jones. Oh. I'm just saying, I just find it a little bit mad that people just turn around and go, nah, if you're playing him, you're not going to win. You know what I mean? You're not going to win much.
If he ends up being an option as a depth option for central midfield, I'm tickety-boo. I'm absolutely delighted with life. If there's 3 better midfielders that start on a regular basis than him or Harvey Elliott, we're in a fantastic spot.
Great.
That's because they're number 4 and 5. I'm absolutely delighted with life. I'm tickled pink at it.
Yeah.
And if they're not, then they've sharpened their elbows and pushed others out the way. And at their age, and with a new manager coming in, that's organic. That's what should happen. They didn't keep him around from the age of 17 to 23 because they could have sold him. I think there was sites looking at him for in around. I think Liverpool quoted 40 million. And when you've seen the likes of Emile Smith Rowe, who's had a very patchy 2 years, being sold to Fulham for 35 million, it doesn't put a mocker on what Curtis Jones has done for the last 18 months, 2 years at 40 plus. So, I mean, I'm sorry, if that's your depth option, happy days.
But
because not many other sides have that level of depth in midfield.
But listen, come in and tell you. Brian Murphy says, Gav, if Jones and Elliott are regular starters for Liverpool, top four is the new target, not winning the league. The team needs more quality to compete with City and Arsenal, right? I agree the team needs more quality to compete with Liverpool or with City and Arsenal. I'm not telling you Curtis Jones is going to be a regular starter for Liverpool. I'm not telling you Harvey Elliott is going to be a regular starter for Liverpool. I'm not even telling you any of the players are going to be. I don't know what's going to happen. What I'm saying is I see the value in Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott as Liverpool players. Right? I do. I honestly do. And like bringing Harvey Elliott into this is mad to me. Like, honestly, right? There's probably a 20-year-old playing at City, or there's a 20-year-old playing at someone else, and you're going, he's fucking great, he's done this, and you're kind of going, we have one of them. He's really fucking good. Like, what I don't see, and listen, there's players I rate and don't rate. There's some I kind of not too sure. I'll always back them. That's just me. I'll always back them. Every player that goes on the pitch, I want Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, and Andy Robinson, any of them, to score, assist, make a great tackle, saving off the line, whatever it might be. I want them to come out on the winning side, right? And that's just me. That's how it goes, right? But I don't understand why we live in this thing, and maybe it's not only Liverpool, maybe it probably is other clubs as well. But we live in this thing where whatever we have is never good enough. And we look elsewhere and we go, that's much better over there, and that's much better over there. Like, we finished 7 or 8 points off the top of the league last year, and we were fucking brutal from the middle of April onwards. Like, we were fucking brutal, right? We lost our heads. I think the manager's head went, players' heads, the legs went a bit, game management, loads and loads of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is,
I don't think anyone has ever said. I think I'm not speaking for you. None of us have ever said we don't need to add one or two.
No. We're literally
saying
we're sick to death of saying it. We'd love to see.
We're sick to death of saying it.
But
it's not major surgery either.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
No, it's not major surgery. It's not major. Red Steve says top Reds tonight. It's not top Reds. It's not, because I'd never consider myself a top Red. Red Steve is acting the maggot. But the thing is, like, what I'm saying is that why can't... Look, if Liverpool brought in a defensive midfielder, right? If Liverpool were going 4-2-3-1 next season, and they brought in, name a fucking midfielder, whoever you want, right? And you said
Zubamendi in tomorrow.
Zubamendi, right? Right, say Zubamendi, right? Now, everyone will fall over themselves for Zubamendi, right? And in fairness, I think he looks really fucking good, right? Yeah. But if we bring them in and him and McAllister are playing as a two, and you're telling me you're getting 35 league games out of them, I am over the fucking moon, right? Yeah. But to get 35 games out of them, right, 35 to 38 games out of them, you need other players there to do a job. Yeah. You genuinely do. You need people there to do a job. And honestly, why do we always turn around and go, if he regularly starts this, and if he regularly starts that, and if he regularly starts this, and it's like...
It doesn't exist anymore.
But the thing is, like, when I look at it, I think to myself, do we need a midfielder? I would suggest yes. Right? Yeah. Do we need a centre-back? I would suggest yes. Right?
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, he's not good enough. So every time you go into a game, you're going, oh, he's starting, we're not going to win. Well, look, honestly, why do we do this? Do you know what I mean? Like, people are comparing Rodri there to Curtis Jones. No one gets fucking close to Rodri as a defensive midfielder.
I remember Rodri when Rodri came in his first season, and he was finding his way in the league, and he... Yeah. I'll be honest, I think most people looked at him after a year and thought, what the hell is Pep thinking?
Yeah, because he brought him around the time Fernandinho was still there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing is, but when you look at Rodri now, Rodri plays deep line midfield on his own for Man City. But what they do is, he's a brilliant footballer, but they bring John Stones in there, they actually crowd midfield Man City now. That's what they do. But why do we keep comparing to this and that and the other.
Rodri has developed from the 23, 24-year-old that Man City brought in to now, over the last 2 years, being the absolute pinnacle of what a central midfielder is.
He's exceptional.
He's the best. He's the best at what he does in the league for a decade or more. I don't think anyone at what he does. There's probably on one hand you could count the amount of players who could do what he can do, and at the competency that he could do it, going back years.
You see, if you look at the likes of, and I know we're going on a mad tangent, but fuck it. But if you look at the likes of say Kante, right, Makelele was a big one, right, Roy Keane, right, Vieira and stuff like that, right. I think Rodri is better than all of them.
I think he's different.
I think he's better than all of them. I think Rodri, even in that deep line midfielder, right, he gets his fair share of goals. He's good in the tackle. He's good on the turn. He gets out of positions. He's a good range of passing. He is amazing at football.
Positionally, for me, he's better than all of them. He reads the game better than anyone else.
I think he's outstanding.
Yeah. And that's not to say that, I mean, Kante was a wasp. He was annoying. But even Kante at Leicester, compared to Kante at Chelsea, he was getting forward. At Leicester, he never got ahead of the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, Roy Keane, a box-to-box centre mid, played in the 2. Vieira always had, at his best, had Petit next to him. But you look at Rodri. Rodri is literally a one-man band. He allows everyone else to go and play. Pep couldn't go and buy Rodri today. He had to develop Rodri, and he had to create him. That took time.
I understand that. Now, like what we're talking about needing a midfielder, and Jeff says, I'm saying we should have someone close to Rodri's level. Jones is light years away from that level.
Okay, hang on.
But no, I get that.
Who in world football is even close to Rodri's level?
You see, that's my point.
They don't exist. They're not
I don't think
there.
they exist.
I think Zubimendi is as close as you get because he's so calm in the ball. He makes things really simple. He gives it and he takes the ball in tight spaces like Busquets used to do and gives it to better players. But
you see, the thing is...
That's what he does.
But the thing is, if you mention Curtis Jones and Rodri in the same conversation, people might laugh at that. And probably rightly so. But then again, you have to start asking yourself, when have you seen Curtis Jones playing a 6 on his own for a sustained period for Liverpool? You've never seen him. Never seen him. I would rather if you compared him to a player that plays in an A position. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with that. If you turn around to me and said such and such plays in the A position, and I think he's better than Curtis Jones, fine, right? Yeah. But in saying that, we're not going into the season where Curtis Jones is our shining light hope of the season. It's simply not that. You have to look at it as a squad game. And what I'm saying is, right, whether you like him or you don't like him, Curtis Jones in that Liverpool squad to play some games, not play others, maybe get a great run on the side because he's in great form, maybe be over because he's in bad form, is absolutely fine to have there. Absolutely fine.
The aim for every season is you're going to play. You're likely. Your target is going to be to have 55 games. If you play 55 games over 9 months, you're going to have a good season. You're going to be competitive in most competitions, and you're going to go deep in most of them. To do that, you have to have 5 centre mids who can all chip in with 30 plus games, 30 plus appearances in every game at a minimum. And if he's one of those 5 or 6 that's capable of doing that, happy days. If he develops further and becomes more of a mainstay over the next year, 2 years, better again. Because
if you sign, buy one for him. But if you're playing a 2 midfield or a 3 midfield, right? Okay, and you say for him, say you will tomorrow, and you say, right, I'm going to play 3 midfield. I'm signing a number 6, right? I'm signing a number 6, and I'm going to play Dominic Szoboszlai, and I'm going to play Alexis McAllister ahead of him, right?
Yeah,
that's fine, right? Grant, I'm okay with that, right? What I'm saying is, if Curtis Jones gets into that side, right? The people that you're all right with, he's playing better than them. Do you get me? So there has to be you're not putting players into a side just to put them into a side. You simply aren't. You're simply not doing it. You're putting them in because, they're really impressing. They come off the bench. They have a great game. This fella might have a niggle. He goes in and plays. He plays really well. How do I take him out? You know the sort of way. We seem... It's impossible for you to have 5 or 6 midfielders of a Rodri level or whatever level. It's not fucking possible. And at the end of the day, we're talking about Curtis Jones and we're talking about Harvey Elliott a little bit. And they're 23 and 20 years of age. Right? And they've gone through a lot in their Liverpool career. They've gone through, Curtis Jones around when they win the league, but then he's around when we're absolutely fucking brutal, when we've no defenders. Then he's around when we're going for 4 trophies, the season before last, or the season before that. Then he's around when we're fucking awful. He actually comes back in and he's a bit of a spark at the end of that terrible season. He's having a really good start to the season last season. The Spurs thing fucks him over. They've gone through an awful lot. But what I'm saying is that it's impossible. It's impossible to have what you think. Like, if you look at Man City's midfield, you take Rodri out of that midfield, who are you playing defence midfield?
That's it now.
Who are you playing?
It's Christ, you're playing...
John Stones you're playing.
John Stones, you are putting John Stones in the middle of the park.
So what we're doing is, right, like, what we're doing here is we're saying, he's fucking amazing. But what's he got after him? Well, you have to look beyond what you have on your perceived best 11. You have to, because when you look down at Arsenal's last 2 title runs, right, or their title, the pursuit of the title, right, they ran out of legs in the first one, right, and their inability to change things last season killed them, because defensively they were brilliant, but they just couldn't get over the line because the same players were playing all the time. You look at Arsenal. Name me Arsenal's midfield. Declan Rice, Odegaard, and Jorginho for an awful lot of it, right? What's beyond that?
Yeah, towards the end of the season, he went with Thomas Partey.
Partey's not there anymore. He'd be gone.
Exactly. After that,
who was there after?
Kai Havertz was dropping in there. It was Zinchenko was playing in there. It was a licorice all sorts to make it, to get over the line. There wasn't even the likes of, they signed that young kid from Portugal, Vieira. And they paid 29-30 million for him in the hope that he was going to break, be able to supplement what they had. It never quite worked out for him. They paid good money for a few midfielders, and most of them didn't really. Lokonga was another one they thought that might be able to break in.
He's gone for 5 million somewhere.
He's
now,
gone again, yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you can stand up if Liverpool have all their players fit for the whole season, right? Fine, right? But they're never going to be all fit, and they're never going to be not suspended. So you have to look beyond them. El Nene, Partey, Emile Smith-Rowe, Vieira, says Brian O'Halloran. After Arsenal's midfield, they fuck all. End of story. So what my whole point is here, if you have the likes of Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, and even to an extent Ryan Gravenberch, right? If you have them as your backup, right, and they manage to get into your side, one, they're doing something right, but they are better backup than what the other teams have. It's just, that's the truth. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to nail every player to, if he's in the first 11, he's not going to win at him. That's not how it works. It's a squad game. No. And I think as a squad, and I'm not putting them down as squad players, they're never getting a team. As part of the squad, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Ryan Gravenberch, I'm absolutely fine with. But I do think, and I agree on the whole midfield thing, I would sign a specialist 6, where if you're going to go 3 in midfield, where Endo's your backup 6. That's what I would do. But
that would be the idea. That would be the idea.
Jeff asked, why do we get outspent by the likes of West Ham? Well, we don't. Because if you look at the money Liverpool spend every year, and you have to take everything into consideration as to what you spend, they don't spend more than us. They simply don't. They could spend 100 million this summer, and we could spend nothing, and we would still be spending more than them. That's just how it works. Look, people are still panicking over the transfer stuff. I don't think there's any need to. They've said something again the other day saying, listen, and it was made out that, He's saying our squad is great and can compete with anyone without bringing anyone in. That's not what he said at all.
I would say.
It's not what he said at all.
No.
So my only suggestion is, if you're going to read these quotes online, don't. Spend your time going onto YouTube, going onto the Liverpool channel on YouTube and watching the fucking interviews and listening with your own ears. And stop it and pause if you need to go back and listen again. Honestly, that's.
I mean, they both come out in their very first press conference and said, July is going to be quiet. August is likely when anything's going to happen. And when you think about it, look at the squad that we've taken out there. It's pretty youthful. We know there's 11 players to come back into it. And when they come back on the 4th, and you've got a whole month before the window closes. They're not going to buy any player for the next, to get over a line for 3 months. If they sign a player, they're looking at a player that's going to come in for 5 years. It's going to be a player not for today. It's going to be for a 5-year contract. So they're not going to panic about anyone. They're going to see who's available. And then when the squad is back in Liverpool, they'll bring someone in. And odds are, whoever they bring, he already said they're going to bring in at least one, maybe two.
Yeah.
You can infer from what he said, players. They're going to bring in one or two. And we lost two that arguably, if they were both available and fit last season, would have made a difference to how we went at last season.
Yeah.
You had a fit Joe Matip and a fit Thiago for last season. You could be having a different conversation.
Yeah.
They're the two players that you replaced the wages that those two players picked up last year with two players of similar of enough quality to justify the wages that we paid Joel Matip and a Thiago. You're bringing in two quality players.
Yeah.
And if they're available and fit for a season, we're going to be a better side.
Yeah.
And we weren't a million miles away last year.
Anne asks, Gav, would you agree that getting a top 6 could be key to getting the best out of the likes of Jones, Elliott, because it frees them up and to do what they are good at? Yeah, listen, I'm all about, if you can find me, and I'm sure Liverpool are looking, if you can find me a specialist 6 that comes in and has the attributes Endo has, but it's probably a bit better on the ball, a bit quicker, a bit sharper on the ball, I'm all for it. If that means it's freeing up Sobbers like Gravenberch, McAllister, Jones, Eddie, whoever it is, I don't want to single out two players. I'm absolutely all for it. But again, they all have to be able to work together. There's no point in this fella going around as, like a dog with two Mickeys, as Sean would say, and, running around going, I'm trying to tackle everything, and the rest of them are all going, yeah, he'll just tackle, and then we'll get it back. That's not how they're going to work. It's all about being part of a system, being part of a team, a unit, and everything else. But I do think, I really liked the end of last season, but I think if you want to make your midfield more involved in a game, your 6 has to have a range of passing. They have to have an awareness of where they are. And I'm not on the defensive side of things. I really like the Endo, winning the ball, getting tackles in, physical, cutting out pass. I'm all right. My only thing with Endo was a little bit slow on the ball. Probably wants 2 touches when he should use 1. Probably wants 3 touches when he should use 2. These sort of things, and that's just a little step up, But I'm not against Liverpool signing players. Jesus, no. I'm just saying, what we have there, they'll come good at different times of the season, and if that means that, we sit here at the end of this season and we've won trophies and Harvey Elliott started 10 games or been involved in 25 games and Jones the same, but they're way less than a couple more. The other 3 or the other 4 are doing brilliant, and they're obviously impacting games and all. That's absolutely fine, but you have to look at the squad game, and when you look deeper, and I know Arsenal and Man City had a great season, but Arsenal need more. 100% they need more. I think they were very fortunate with injuries, but they kept playing players and playing them. I think it done them in the end. City just keep grinding you. City's reputation wins them games more than anything else. And Liverpool had that a couple of years ago. They need to get it back. Kev says, what young lads are you looking forward to watching tonight against Betis? I really hope we see Nallo and Harvey Blair. We're going to see an awful lot of players here tonight, Kev. We're going to see 2 teams, aren't we?
2, 3, maybe. I think we took 28 players. I think most will get minutes.
Yeah.
But we only have 4 preseason games before the season starts. So at some point, it probably won't be today, but by the end of probably by the first game that we have back in England, you want players to at least be, your senior players to at least be getting close to an hour. I don't think you'll see that tonight. I think ideally you might probably want to get some players playing 45 at least, maybe one or two going over that, but I wouldn't expect to see anyone playing longer than that. But it's midfield. It's the midfield I'm looking for. I've just had a quick look there. I see the predicted lineup for Betis. There's a few names people will remember. People know Adrian, obviously. Hector Bellerin is there. Mark Bartra. Fekir.
Yeah.
Fornals. Wanmi.
Yeah.
They've got a few players there that we'll be aware of. But yeah, there's going to be some young players that are going to be want to keep an eye out for us as well. Be interesting to see how we play with our fullbacks. Be interesting to see what Bradley, if he starts, and Costas are asked to do in the build-up. Yeah. You see the two. Will you see one tucking into midfield? It's something that Slot did a lot with Feyenoord, with Gertrude. Gertrude would start on paper as a right back, but you saw when he came on and played for Holland as well, he drifted into midfield. He wandered everywhere in midfield for the Dutch. And he did very similar for Feyenoord, where he was inverted a lot into midfield, allowing an extra centre mid to become like a second 10 or a second striker. So see how that works out. See what happens when the first change is made. See what Ben Doak does. Ben Doak in the behind Anfield or the behind the scenes football, the training stuff, you see him playing a lot off of the left. How will he work cutting back in onto his right foot, taking shots from that side? What will that balance work like? What are the wingers asked to do? Are our wingers asked to hold their width, or is it they come inside and the fullbacks hold the width? Yeah. All these questions.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Boychettis is an interesting one tonight as well.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit put off, but I know Dan's isn't there, but I'm a little bit put off by his talk of Plymouth because I really want Dan to stay at the club this season. But look, I'm not the one making decisions. Jerry asks, "Is Joaquim still playing for them?" And I'm not. And I know people are laughing at you, but I was literally when Kev was ringing them out, I was going, "I wonder if Joaquim is still there." But no, he's not. I think he's about 40, bleeding 5 now at this stage. But no, it's look again. We're going to do the watch along. I'm gonna have a drink. I'll have me smokes. I'm outside. Happy days. We'll call the game as we see it. We'll chat around players. Throw loads of questions at us. It's not one of those things where
we're not going to be doing commentary,
staring at the screen, and we'll be.
You want commentary? Watch the commentary on TV.
It's just like sitting with your mates and having the chat. So if you want to come along, please do watch it. Like I said, these last for the pre-season, then we get rid of them for the rest of the season because none of the lads want to do them. We're only doing it because it's pre-season. We're all giddy. But I've really enjoyed that. Thanks a million to everyone in the chat. The thing I love about the chat is, right, there's so many varying opinions in there, but everyone's grammar each other,
Yeah,
they're all really they're not resorting to fucking calling each other's names and everything. They're just, having their say, and that's absolutely fine. And that's what we're here for. But I've really enjoyed that. We got a load through Coach Jones. We didn't even get to Arne Slot, I thought was really impressive. I loved when someone asked him about the injury of something. He went, "That's a medical issue. I'm not speaking to you about it." I was like, "Yeah, you tell him." So there you go. But thanks to Kev for joining me. We will be back in a little over an hour. And we'll have a nice time watching the Reds until about fucking 2 o'clock in the morning over here. You Americans get it easy now tonight. Fair play.
Next month. Yeah. Next few week at least.
Exactly. That's been it. Talk to you in a bit. Over now.